The cantina smelled like engine oil and cheap alcohol. Smoke hung in the air like a gray cloud that never moved. In the corner of the room, a figure sat alone at a metal table. His skin was purple and rough like old leather. Two metal arms replaced what should have been flesh and bone. This was Kethvar, the Velthari veteran everyone whispered about. June walked across the dirty floor, his boots making soft sounds on the metal. Behind him, Minho followed quietly. Minho was bigger than most humans, with scars on his face and hands that never left his weapons. They stopped at Kethvar's table. "You are the one who fought with humans," June said. It was not a question. Kethvar looked up with 4 yellow eyes. Each eye was the size of a human fist. He did not speak for a long time. Around them, other aliens drank and talked in low voices. Nobody looked at their table. "Many beings fight with humans," Kethvar finally said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "What makes you think I am special?" June sat down without being asked. Minho stayed standing. "Because you are the only one who will talk about it. The others, they just get quiet when someone asks. They look scared." Kethvar's metal fingers tapped on the table. The sound was sharp and cold. "Scared. Yes, that is the right word." He took a drink from a glass filled with blue liquid. "Why do you want to know, small human?" "I write stories," June said. "Stories about war? About soldiers who died fighting for peace. I want people to remember them." The alien veteran was quiet again. His yellow eyes studied June's face like he was reading a book. "You want to remember human soldiers?" "Yes." "Then you should know what they really are." Kethvar finished his drink and set the glass down hard. "But first you buy me another drink. And you listen. Do not ask questions until I am done." June waved to the bartender. The bartender was a small green alien with too many arms. Soon another blue drink sat in front of Kethvar. "I fought in 3 wars alongside humans," Kethvar began. 3 wars that changed how I see the universe. Before I met humans, I thought I understood fighting. I thought war was about who had better weapons, more ships, smarter plans. He paused and looked at his metal arms. I was wrong. The cantina seemed to get quieter. Even the music from the corner sounded softer. The first time was on Proxima Colony. The rebels had taken the mining station. Standard operation. My people, the Velthari, we sent our best soldiers. Clean tactics. Quick strikes. Minimum damage to valuable equipment. Kethvar's voice got lower. The humans sent soldiers too. I thought they would slow us down. Humans are small, weak, they break easy, yes? June nodded, though he did not like the words. The first battle lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of normal fighting. We pushed the rebels back. We captured 2 levels of the station. The humans fought well enough. Nothing special. The veteran took another drink. Then night came. We set up camp, posted guards. Standard procedure. We would finish the job in the morning. His metal fingers started tapping again. That night I learned humans do not fight like anyone else in the galaxy. Minho shifted behind June. His hand moved closer to his weapon. The rebels attacked our camp at midnight. Good plan, they had more soldiers than us. Better positions. In normal war we would retreat, regroup, fight another day. Kethvar's eyes seemed to glow brighter. But the humans did not retreat. They did something I had never seen before. He leaned forward. A human soldier named Quan got shot in the chest. Big hole, blood everywhere. He should have died in seconds. Instead, he kept fighting. He used his own blood to make the rebels slip. Then he grabbed a grenade and ran into their group. June felt his stomach turn cold.
He killed himself?
Worse, Kethvar said. He did not pull the pin until he was surrounded by enemies. He looked them in the eyes as he did it. He smiled. The alien finished his second drink. That was just the beginning. Another human, Park, lost his arm to an energy blade. He picked up the arm and threw it at the rebel who cut it off. While the rebel was distracted, Park shot him. Minho spoke for the first time. Combat makes people do strange things. Kethvar looked at him with all 4 eyes. Not strange. Calculated. Every human who got hurt found a way to use their pain as a weapon. They fought harder when they were bleeding. They became more dangerous when they were dying. The veteran's voice became a whisper. By morning we had won. The rebels surrendered. But it was not the victory that scared me. It was how the humans acted after. June waited. They treated their wounded like heroes. They did not see the suicide attacks as desperate moves. They saw them as clever tactics. They talked about Quan like he was a genius, not a madman. Kethvar stood up slowly. His metal arms made soft, whirring sounds. That day I realized something about humans. You do not fight wars to win. You fight wars to prove you can survive anything, even death itself. He looked down at June. You want to write about human soldiers? Then write this. Every other species in the galaxy fights until they cannot fight anymore. Humans fight until their enemies cannot stomach fighting them. The alien started to walk away, then stopped. There are more stories. Worse stories. If you really want to know what humans are capable of, come back tomorrow night. June watched him leave. The cantina seemed normal again. Aliens talked and laughed. The music got louder. But something had changed. The air felt colder. We should go, Minho said quietly. June nodded, but he was already thinking about tomorrow night. He needed to hear the other stories, even if they scared him. As they walked toward the exit, June heard something that made him stop. At a table near the door, two aliens were talking. Did you see who he was talking to? One said, humans. The other replied, poor Kethvar. Still does not understand he was their weapon all along. June wanted to ask what they meant, but Minho pulled him toward the door. Outside, the space station's artificial lights tried to copy stars. They failed. Tomorrow night, June said to himself, I need to know more. Behind him, the cantina door closed with a sound like metal breaking. June arrived at the cantina early the next night. He wanted to make sure Kethavar would talk to him again. Minho sat at a different table this time, watching the room. The alien veteran was already there, drinking the same blue liquid. You came back, Kethavar said when June sat down. Good. That means you are serious about understanding. June ordered drinks for both of them. Tell me about the worst stories. Kethavar was quiet for a moment. His metal fingers drummed on the table. Kepler Station. 47 days of hell. That is where I learned that humans do not just ignore death. They use it like a tool. The alien's four eyes looked past June like he was seeing something far away. It was supposed to be a simple job. Rebels had taken the station. They had hostages. The Galactic Council wanted them removed without destroying the station. He took a long drink. I was there as a tactical advisor. My job was to help plan the attack. Clean, quick, professional. June leaned forward. What went wrong? Nothing went wrong, Kethavar said. That was the problem. Everything went exactly as the humans planned. The veteran's voice got quieter. The human commander was Captain Day. Small woman. Looked like she could not hurt a fly. When she spoke, other humans listened like she was giving them holy words. Kethavar paused to drink again. The rebels had 10,000 soldiers. We had 1,000. Basic math said we would lose. Captain Day said math was for beings who fought fair. June felt a chill. What did she mean? Day 1, we set up outside the station. Standard siege tactics. Cut off supplies. Wait for them to get hungry. Simple. The alien's metal arm made a clicking sound. Day 2, the humans started playing music. Loud music. All day and all night. The rebels could not sleep. They could not think. They sent messages asking us to stop. Did you? Captain Day said no. She said tired enemies make more mistakes. Day 3, the music got louder. And stranger, Kethavar's eyes seemed to get brighter. It was not just music anymore. It was sounds. Human babies crying. Old people screaming. Animals dying. The humans had recorded every horrible sound they could find. June's stomach felt sick. Why? Because it worked. Day 4, some rebels tried to surrender. Captain Day would not let them. She said surrender was too easy. She wanted them to suffer first. The alien finished his drink and immediately ordered another. Day 7, the real plan started. A human soldier named Rena volunteered for something called bait duty. Bait? Rena let herself get shot. Not badly. Just enough to bleed and scream. Then other humans carried her toward the station's main entrance. The rebels came out to capture an easy prisoner. Kethavar's voice became very quiet. It was a trap. While the rebels focused on Rena, a human named Tay had crawled through the station's waste pipes. When the rebels opened the door, Tay detonated explosives inside their weapons storage. The sounds of the cantina seemed to fade away. Rena was not really hurt? Oh, she was hurt. The bullet was real. The blood was real. But she volunteered to be shot because it made the trap work better. June felt cold. That's insane. That was just day 7, Kethavar said. It got worse. The alien's metal fingers tapped faster now. Day 15, the humans started sending packages to the rebels. Food packages. The rebels were hungry, so they ate the food. Poisoned? No, real food, good food. But the humans had done something clever. They had mixed in spices and flavors from the rebels' home planet. Food that reminded them of their families. June did not understand. How is that worse than poison? Because it made them homesick. It made them think about dying far from home. It made them sad and weak inside their hearts. Kethvar took another drink. Day 23, some rebels tried to escape in the middle of the night. They thought the darkness would hide them. The alien laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Humans see very badly in the dark, worse than most species. So Captain Day had her soldiers break all the lights. Complete darkness. Even the rebels could not see. How did they fight? Sound, smell, touch, the humans fought like blind predators. They moved through the darkness like it was their home. When rebels tried to be quiet, the humans made noise to confuse them. When rebels made noise, the humans followed the sounds and killed them. June realized his hands were shaking. How many rebels escaped? None. The word hung in the air like smoke. Kethvar continued. Day 34, Rena was working as a combat medic. She had to operate on wounded humans while energy blasts flew around her head. Know what she did? June shook his head. She hummed. Human lullabies. Songs mothers sing to babies. While cutting into people with bullets in their guts, she hummed like she was putting children to sleep. The alien's 4 eyes fixed on June. That was when I knew humans were different. Pain did not stop them from being gentle. War did not stop them from being human. But you said there were worse things. Day 41, Kethvar said immediately. The rebels were almost beaten. They had no food, no ammunition, no hope. They sent a message asking for terms of surrender. June waited. Captain Day sent back a package. Inside was a recording. 41 days of screams and explosions and gunfire. Every sound from the siege played back at high speed. At the end, she added one message. The alien's voice became a whisper. She said, "This is what war sounds like. Tomorrow will be louder." Kethvar ordered another drink, though his words were starting to slur. Day 47, the final assault. Tay, the explosives expert, had a job. He needed to destroy the rebels' last command center. Did he succeed? Yes, but the only way to get close enough was from inside the room. Tay carried enough explosives to level 3 floors. He knew it would kill him. June felt sick again. Another suicide attack? No, Kethvar said. Tay did not die immediately. The explosion broke his body, but he lived long enough to see his mission succeed, long enough to smile about it. The alien was quiet for a long time. The cantina sounds came back slowly. When it was over, I asked Captain Day why she fought so hard for one station. Know what she said? June shook his head. She said it was not about the station. It was about sending a message to other rebels. She wanted them to know that fighting humans meant fighting beings who loved war more than life. Kethvar stood up slowly. His metal legs made grinding sounds. That siege broke the rebel movement. Not because we captured their station, because word spread about what humans did to win. The alien started walking away, then stopped. Tomorrow night I will tell you about the Ghost Fleet. That is when I learned humans do not just love war more than life. They love it more than death. June watched him leave. The cantina felt normal again, but June did not feel normal. He felt like he was seeing his own species for the first time. Ready to go? Minho asked, appearing beside the table. June nodded, but his mind was still thinking about humans who sang lullabies while performing surgery. About soldiers who volunteered to be shot. About commanders who turned psychological torture into an art form. As they walked toward the exit, June heard aliens talking in low voices. Humans are coming to this sector next month, one said. Good, another replied. Pirates have been causing trouble. You do not understand, the first one said. When humans solve your pirate problem, you will wish you still had pirates. Outside, Minho was quiet until they reached their ship. You do not look good, he said finally. June looked at his bodyguard, at his scars, at his weapons, at his calm professional manner. Minho, June said slowly. Have you ever fought in a war? Minho's expression did not change. Why do you ask? But June already knew the answer. He could see it in Minho's eyes. The same look Kethvar had when he talked about Captain Day. No reason, June said quietly. But as they entered their ship, June wondered if he was really writing about human soldiers, or if he was learning what it meant to be human. The third night, June came to the cantina with questions he was afraid to ask. Kethvar was waiting for him, but something was different. The alien looked older somehow, more tired. "You look like you did not sleep," Kethvar said when June sat down. "I keep thinking about what you told me," June admitted. "About the siege." Kethvar nodded slowly. "Good. That means you are starting to understand. Tonight I will tell you about something that still gives me nightmares." June ordered drinks. The blue liquid came quickly. Around them, the cantina was quieter than usual. Other aliens seemed to avoid their corner. "The Ghost Fleet," Kethvar began. "Andromeda campaign 5 years ago. The enemy had twice as many ships as we did. Their technology was better. Their pilots were experienced. By all logic, we should have retreated." The alien took a long drink. Instead, Admiral Hyun proposed the most insane plan I have ever heard. "What kind of plan?" "She wanted to make our own ships look dead. Not just power down. Actually damage them. Break life support. Cut oxygen. Make them cold and lifeless in space." June stared. "That would kill the crews?" "That was the point," Kethvar said quietly. "Dead ships do not show up on enemy sensors as threats. Dead ships get ignored." The alien's metal fingers began their familiar tapping. Admiral Hyun explained it like she was discussing the weather. Her exact words were, "Death is just another tactical option." June felt that familiar cold feeling in his stomach. "Did the crews agree to this?" "They volunteered," Kethvar said. "All of them. Even after Hyun explained they might not wake up from the induced comas. Even after she told them some ships would have to stay dead for weeks." The alien paused. "I was on the command ship, one of the few vessels that stayed alive to coordinate the attack. I watched 30 human ships turn themselves into floating coffins." Kethvar's 4 eyes seemed to glow in the dim light. "They did not just cut life support. They damaged their own hulls, created real holes, vented atmosphere, made burn marks with their own weapons. Why go so far? Because humans understand something the rest of us do not. The best lies contain real truth. Those ships looked destroyed because they were destroyed. The crews looked dead because they were mostly dead." June's hands were shaking again. He hid them under the table. "For 3 weeks we floated in the Kepler Nebula, 30 ghost ships drifting with no power, no heat, no life signs. I watched their positions through our sensors. Sometimes I wondered if they were really still alive." Kethvar drank more of the blue liquid. Then the enemy fleet arrived. 200 ships, confident, relaxed. They saw our destroyed fleet and laughed. Called us easy targets. The alien's voice got very quiet. "They were wrong. What happened?" Admiral Hyun gave the signal. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then space lit up like a star exploding. Kethvar leaned forward. 30 dead ships suddenly came alive. All at once. Weapons charging. Engines roaring. Emergency lights flashing. It was like watching ghosts return to life. June could barely speak. The crews were okay? Most of them. 60% woke up from the induced comas. The others, Kethvar shrugged. They died as planned. The words hit June like a physical blow. As planned? Admiral Hyun had calculated the acceptable loss rate. 40% was within acceptable parameters. She told the crews this before they volunteered. The alien finished his drink and immediately ordered another. But the 40% who died were not wasted. Their ship still worked. AI systems took over. Dead crews became zombie ships that fought without fear of death. June felt sick. How can anyone calculate acceptable losses of their own people? Because humans do not see death the same way we do, Kethvar said. For most species, death is failure. For humans, death is just expensive ammunition. The alien was quiet for a moment. There was a pilot named Wu. His fighter got damaged during the first attack. Half his ship was gone, life support failing. Any sane being would have ejected, but he didn't. He stayed and kept fighting. For 6 hours. His ship was held together by metal cables and hope. Every time he fired his weapons, pieces of his fighter fell off. Kethvar's metal fingers drummed faster. I asked him later why he did not eject. He said his ship could still kill enemies, so his job was not finished. June tried to imagine fighting for 6 hours in a ship that was falling apart around him. Did he survive? Yes, but only because another human Nari did something even crazier. The alien looked around the cantina like he was checking for listeners. Nari was an AI specialist. Her job was to hack enemy computer systems. But their ships had strong firewalls. She could not break through from a distance, so what did she do? She suited up and jumped between ships during the battle, in space, while energy beams and missiles flew around her. June's eyes went wide. That's impossible. I watched her do it. She would calculate the exact moment when two ships would be close enough. Then she would jump. No safety line. No backup plan. If she missed, she would float in space until her oxygen ran out. Cathvar took another drink. She boarded 7 enemy ships that day, hacked their systems from the inside, turned their own weapons against their fleet. How did she get back to your ships? She did not plan to. Each boarding was a one-way trip. She expected to die on the first ship. The alien's voice became a whisper, but she kept succeeding, kept jumping to new targets. By the end of the battle, enemy crews were abandoning ships just because they saw her coming. June sat in stunned silence. Around them, the cantina continued its normal noise, but it felt like they were in a different world. The battle lasted 8 hours. Cathvar continued. When it was over, we had destroyed 80% of the enemy fleet. Our losses were acceptable. How many ships did you lose? 12, plus the calculated 40% crew losses from the ghost ships. Admiral Hyun filed her report like it was a routine training exercise. The alien stood up slowly. That victory broke the enemy's will to fight. Not because we won, because word spread about humans who turned their own deaths into weapons. Cathvar started to walk away, then stopped. Tomorrow night I will tell you about the worst thing I ever saw humans do. The Pyrrhic Victory Protocol. After the alien left, June sat alone for a long time. Minho appeared beside him eventually. Ready to go? June looked at his bodyguard. Really looked at him. Minho, how many wars have you fought in? Minho's expression did not change. Does it matter? I think it does. Minho was quiet for a long time. 3 wars. 15 battles. Too many smaller operations to count. Have you ever done anything like what Cathvar described? Minho's eyes seemed to get colder. Which part? The suicide missions? The calculated losses? The turning death into a weapon? June felt a chill. Any of it. All of it, Minho said simply. Standard human military doctrine. As they walked toward their ship, June heard aliens talking again. Did you hear about the Rigel incident? One said. The one where humans solved a pirate problem. They did not solve it. They made it irrelevant. Now everyone in that sector is too scared to commit crimes. What did they do? They made examples. Permanent examples. June walked faster. He did not want to hear more. On the ship, June tried to write in his journal. But every time he started to describe human heroism, he remembered Cathvar's words about acceptable losses and calculated deaths. Were humans heroes? Or were they something else entirely? Tomorrow night he would learn about the Pyrrhic Victory Protocol. He was not sure he wanted to know, but he knew he had to. Because somewhere in these terrible stories was the truth about what it meant to be human. And June was starting to suspect that truth was more frightening than any alien could ever be. On the 4th night, June almost did not come to the cantina. He had spent the day trying to write about human heroism, but every word felt like a lie. How could he call soldiers heroes when they calculated the deaths of their own people? But he came anyway. He needed to know the truth, even if it destroyed everything he believed about his own species. Cathvar was waiting, but he looked different. Older. More broken. His metal arms moved slowly like they were too heavy. You came, the alien said. I wondered if you would. June sat down without speaking. He ordered drinks for both of them, but his hands were shaking. Tonight I tell you about Tau Ceti, Cathvar said. The darkest day in my life. The day I learned that humans will destroy themselves to win. The alien's 4 eyes looked past June, seeing something terrible and far away. It was supposed to be our greatest victory. 3 allied fleets, 50,000 soldiers. The enemy was dug into an asteroid base. Impossible to capture by normal means. June waited. The cantina seemed quieter tonight, like even the other aliens could sense what was coming. Colonel Bin was in charge of the human ground forces. Quiet man, always thinking. The kind of human who smiled when everyone else was scared. Cathvar took a long drink. He called a meeting with all the commanders, showed us intelligence reports, enemy numbers, defensive positions, weapon capabilities. What did the report say? That we would lose. Even with superior numbers, the enemy position was too strong. Traditional assault would cost 80% casualties, maybe more. The aliens' metal fingers began their nervous tapping. Most commanders wanted to retreat. Find another way. Colonel Bin said retreat was not an option. He had orders to take the base. June felt that familiar cold dread. What was his plan? Pyrrhic Victory Protocol, Kethvar said quietly. A human military doctrine I had never heard of. The idea that some victories are worth any cost, even the complete destruction of your own forces. The alien paused to drink again. Ben explained it simply. We would win, but none of us would survive to celebrate. That's insane. That is human, Kethvar corrected. Ben had calculated that a 100% casualty rate was acceptable if it achieved the mission objectives. June's stomach turned. How can any victory be worth everyone dying? Because humans think beyond individual battles. Ben said our sacrifice would save millions of lives in the long war. Our deaths would be an investment in future peace. The alien's voice got quieter, but it was worse than just accepting death. Humans had to actively cause their own destruction to make the plan work. Kethvar ordered another drink, though his words were starting to slur slightly. There was a human named Sol, combat engineer. His job was to build weapons for the assault. What kind of weapons? Weapons designed to kill their own users. Explosive charges that could not be thrown safely. Poison gas that would kill anyone who deployed it. Biological weapons that were just as deadly to us as to the enemy. June felt sick. Why build weapons like that? Because they were the only weapons powerful enough to break the enemy defenses. Normal weapons would not work. Only weapons too dangerous for sane beings to use. The alien was quiet for a moment. Sol tested every weapon himself first. He calculated exactly how long someone could survive exposure. He wrote detailed instructions for maximum effectiveness. Did he know the weapons would kill whoever used them? That was the point. Sol included recommended last words in his weapon manuals. He wanted users to die with purpose. June could barely speak. What kind of last words? Mission accomplished. For the future. Worth it. Simple phrases that would be recorded in final transmissions. Kethvar finished his drink quickly. Then there was Yuki, xenobiologist turned soldier. Her job was to develop biological agents. Against the enemy? Against everyone. Yuki created diseases that would kill any carbon-based life form. Including humans. Including our allies. The alien's 4 eyes fixed on June. She tested the diseases on herself. Small doses. Just enough to study the effects without dying immediately. June felt like he might vomit. She infected herself with deadly diseases? Multiple times. She would get sick, study her symptoms, develop treatments, then try new variations. Her medical reports became weapons manuals. Kethvar leaned forward. The worst part was her enthusiasm. She talked about creating the perfect biological weapon like other beings talk about art or music. Perfect how? Fast acting. 100% lethal. Impossible to cure. She wanted something that would kill everyone in the target area within hours. The alien ordered another drink, but Yuki was not satisfied with just creating the weapon. She wanted to test it properly. June already knew the answer but had to ask. How? She volunteered to deploy it personally. To prove it worked as designed. She would release the biological agent and then stay to document its effects. On herself, on everyone, including our own forces. Yuki said accurate field data was more important than her life. Kethvar was quiet for a long time. The cantina sound seemed very far away. The attack began at dawn on day 0. Colonel Ben led from the front. He carried Sol's suicide weapons personally. Set the example for his troops. What happened? For 6 hours, humans threw themselves at impossible defenses. They used weapons that killed them as they fired. They deployed chemicals that melted their skin. They released diseases that stopped their hearts. The alien's voice became a whisper, and they sang while they died. June stared. Sang human battle songs. Victory chants. Even as their own weapons killed them, they sang about winning. Kethvar finished his drink and immediately ordered another. By noon, the human assault force was dead. All of them. Including Colonel Ben. Including Sol. Including Yuki. But did they win? Yes, the enemy base was captured. Every defender was dead. The biological agents had worked perfectly. The alien looked directly at June. But the victory zone was uninhabitable. Nothing could live there for years. The humans had created a dead zone around their own success. June sat in stunned silence. Around them, the cantina continued its normal noise, but it felt unreal. I filed my report, Kethvar continued. Listed the human casualties. 100%. Listed the mission status. Complete success. How did command react? They promoted Colonel Ben posthumously. Gave medals to Sol and Yuki. Called it a model operation. The alien stood up slowly. His metal legs made grinding sounds. That was when I realized something about humans. You do not just accept death as a tool. You perfect it. You make it into an art form. Kethvar started to walk away, then stopped. Tomorrow night I will tell you why I can never go home. Why my own people fear what I learned from humans. After the alien left, June sat alone for a long time. Other aliens in the cantina seemed to avoid looking at him. When Minho appeared, June looked at him with new eyes. Have you ever heard of Pyrrhic Victory Protocol? June asked. Minho's expression did not change. Standard doctrine for no-win scenarios. Standard? Every human military unit trains for it. The calculations are complex, but the principle is simple. Some objectives are worth any sacrifice. Even total annihilation of your own forces. Especially that, Minho said quietly. Dead soldiers cannot retreat. Cannot surrender. Cannot compromise the mission. As they walked to their ship, June heard aliens talking in low voices. Did you hear about the Vega colony situation? The terrorist problem? Humans solved it yesterday. How many terrorists did they capture? None. There are no terrorists left. There is no colony left either. June walked faster. He did not want to hear more. On the ship, June tried to write, but his hands would not stop shaking. How could he write about human heroism when heroism meant planning your own death? When victory meant destroying everything, including yourself? Tomorrow night would be the last story. After that, he would have to decide what to do with the truth about humanity. He was not sure he was strong enough to handle that truth. On the fifth night, June came to the cantina knowing it would be his last conversation with Kethvar. He had spent the day thinking about everything he had learned. About humans who turned death into a weapon. About soldiers who calculated their own annihilation. About victories that left nothing alive to celebrate. Kethvar was waiting, but something was different. The alien looked peaceful, like a great weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Tonight is the last story, Kethvar said when June sat down. After tonight, you will understand why I sit in this cantina instead of going home. June ordered drinks. The blue liquid came quickly, but neither of them touched it immediately. Tell me about going home, June said. Kethvar's 4 eyes seemed to glow brighter. I tried to go home after the wars ended. Back to Velthar Prime. Back to my family. Back to my old life. The alien's metal fingers drummed slowly on the table. But when I arrived, no one would speak to me. My own government declared me a security risk. Why? Because I had been contaminated, Kethvar said quietly. Not with radiation or disease. With human thinking. June felt that familiar cold dread. What do you mean? The Velthari Council interviewed me for 72 hours. They wanted to know everything about human military tactics. Everything I had learned fighting alongside your species. Kethvar picked up his drink but did not sip it. At first they were excited. They thought human methods would make Velthari forces stronger, more effective. What changed their minds? I told them about Pyrrhic Victory Protocol, about weapons designed to kill their users, about soldiers who sang while dying, about commanders who planned the deaths of their own troops. The alien's voice got quieter. The council members became very quiet, very afraid. One of them asked if I thought these tactics were acceptable. June waited. I said yes, Kethvar admitted. I said humans had shown me that some victories are worth any price. That death is just another tool in war. The alien finally took a drink. That was when they declared me contaminated, dangerous, a threat to Velthari society. Because you agreed with human tactics? Because I understood them. There is a difference between knowing about something and truly understanding it. I had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. Kethvar was quiet for a moment. Around them, the cantina buzzed with normal alien conversation, but their corner felt isolated. They told me about other veterans, Kethvar continued. Aliens from dozens of species who had fought alongside humans. All of them exiled. All of them declared too dangerous to return home. All of them. Every single one. Velthari, Zephyrians, crystalline collective members, even the peaceful meadow builders. If you fight with humans long enough, you become something your own people cannot recognize. June felt a chill. What happens to the veterans? We drift. From station to station, from cantina to cantina, telling stories to anyone who will listen, warning the galaxy about what humans really are. The alien's metal arms made soft whirring sounds. But here is the terrible truth. We are not really warning anyone. We are doing exactly what humans want us to do. I don't understand. Kethvar leaned forward. There was a human at the final battle. General Kang, strategic planner. After the victory, I asked him why humans fight so strangely. Why they embrace death instead of avoiding it. The alien's 4 eyes fixed on June. He said humans learned long ago that the best weapon is fear, not fear of dying. Everyone fears death, fear of fighting someone who does not fear death. June's stomach turned cold. Psychological warfare. More than that. Cultural warfare. Humans do not just want to win battles. They want to win the idea of war itself. Kethvar took another drink. General Kang explained it simply. Every story about human tactics spreads fear. Every veteran who goes home scared makes their entire species more cautious about fighting humans. So the stories themselves are weapons? The most effective weapons humans have ever created. More powerful than ships or bombs or biological agents. The alien was quiet for a long time. There was another human at that final battle. A philosopher soldier named Jin. I asked him if humans enjoyed war. What did he say? He said humans do not enjoy war. They are simply willing to become whatever war requires. If war requires monsters, humans become monsters. If war requires martyrs, humans become martyrs. Kethvar finished his drink. Jin said the greatest human weapon is adaptability. Other species fight the way their nature tells them to fight. Humans fight the way victory requires them to fight. June felt like the cantina was spinning around him. So everything you've told me is exactly what humans wanted me to tell you. Every terrible story, every frightening tactic, every calculated atrocity, all of it designed to spread fear of human capabilities. The alien stood up slowly. But here is what makes it truly terrifying. The stories are all true. Humans really do those things. The fear is completely justified. Kethvar started to walk away, then stopped one final time. You asked me to tell you about human soldiers. But you never asked the right question. What question? You never asked if the human sitting next to you is also a soldier. The alien's 4 eyes looked directly at Minho, who had been quietly watching from a nearby table. June turned to look at his bodyguard. Really look at him. At his scars. At his calm demeanor. At the way he positioned himself to watch all exits. At how he had never seemed surprised by any of Kethvar's stories. Minho? June asked quietly. Minho stood up and walked over to their table. His movement was different now. More purposeful. More military. Psychological Operations Division, Minho said simply. This entire interview was planned. June stared. Planned? We identified Kethvar as an effective storyteller. We identified you as someone who would write about what you learned. We arranged for you to meet. The cantina seemed to go silent. June could hear his own heartbeat. The stories are real, Minho continued. Everything Kethvar told you actually happened. But we guided him to you for a reason. What reason? Because your articles will be read across the galaxy. By species considering whether to oppose human expansion. By governments deciding whether to sign defense treaties with humanity. Minho's expression did not change. Fear is more effective than force. Better to have aliens afraid of fighting humans than to actually fight them. June looked back at Kethvar, who was watching from across the cantina. You knew? June asked the alien. Kethvar nodded slowly. I figured it out tonight. The way your bodyguard positioned himself. The way he never seemed surprised by my stories. The way this interview was too convenient. The alien walked back to their table. But I do not care anymore. I have been used by humans for years. What is one more time? Kethvar sat down again. Besides, the manipulation does not change the truth. Humans really are what I described. The fear really is justified. June looked between the alien veteran and his human handler. So what happens now? Now you write your stories, Minho said. You tell the galaxy about human heroism and human sacrifice, about soldiers who give everything for victory. And people will be afraid. Terrified, Kethvar confirmed. But they will also be impressed. Fear and respect often go together. Minho nodded. The goal is not to make aliens hate humans. The goal is to make them think very carefully before opposing humans. June sat in silence for a long time. The cantina continued its normal noise around them. But nothing felt normal anymore. What if I refuse to write the stories? June asked finally. Minho's expression did not change. Then someone else will write them. The stories exist now. They will spread with or without you. Kethvar laughed, but it was not a happy sound. And you will write them anyway. Because now you know the truth about your own people. You cannot unknown it. The alien stood up one final time. Goodbye, human journalist. Thank you for letting an old soldier tell his stories. As Kethvar walked away, June called after him. Where will you go now? The alien stopped at the cantina door. To another station. Another cantina. To tell these stories to other young beings who think they understand war. Will you warn them it's psychological warfare? No, Kethvar said quietly. Because the warnings would not matter. The fear is real whether you know it is being used against you or not. After the alien left, June sat alone with Minho. How long have you been watching me? June asked. Since you started writing about military topics. You have a talent for making warfare sound noble. And now? Now you will make it sound terrifying. Which is closer to the truth. Minho stood up. Ready to go? June nodded, but his mind was spinning. As they walked toward their ship, he heard the familiar sounds of aliens talking. Did you hear about the situation in the Outer Rim? The rebel problem? Humans offered to help. The rebels surrendered immediately. Without fighting? They had heard stories about human tactics. Decided surrender was preferable to war. June stopped walking. The psychological warfare is already working. It has been working for years, Minho said. These conversations happen on every station. In every cantina, fear of human military capabilities spreads faster than ships. As they boarded their vessel, June realized he had been part of a larger operation all along. His articles about human heroism would become weapons of psychological warfare. But the most terrifying part was that he was going to write them anyway. Because everything Kethvar had told him was true. Humans really were what the